Hello, I'm Michael Finn, holistic exercise and lifestyle coach, and today I'm in the kitchen because I'm gonna talk to you and show you how easy it is to make bone broth. So first thing is, why do we need to make bone broth, and why should we consume bone broth? So humans are omnivores, which means we eat both animals and plants, okay? It's unique to you. It's why I work with people privately and individually, because everybody needs a different balance depending upon what their needs are. So that's a different topic for a different day. But the key is there's been lots of scientific study done that shows that when we eat muscle meats, the proteins from the muscle meats go primarily into our muscles. When we eat organ meats like heart and liver and kidney and things like that, the proteins go right into that actual organ we ate. So when we eat liver, it goes into our liver. When we eat heart, it goes into our heart. When we eat kidney, it goes into our kidneys. So, and a lot of that, and same thing goes with like bones and collagen and connective tissue, cartilage, ligament, tendon, all that sort of thing. It's because the DNA structure and the molecule structure is very similar to our own, and it's much easier for our body to take something that's very close to the product that it needs to make with it and turn it into that. Because everything we eat is basically becoming part of our body within 12 hours of us eating it. So we need to make sure that we're putting in everything. Now, you don't hear a lot of people talk about muscle problems, but you hear lots of people talk about their skin because they're not eating any skin, and their bones and their joints and their cartilage and the ripping ligaments and the ripping tendons and all this other kind of stuff. Or they have liver problems, or they have heart problems, or they have kidney problems. Well, we aren't consuming those kind of things. The American diet has just completely gotten rid of it, and all people eat is the muscle meat. So we need to consume the whole animal, nose to tail, all different parts. And my typical thing that I've been referring to clients is, we're broken up. So at least a third of our body is connective tissue, tendon, ligament, fascia, skin, all that stuff. At least a third. Ideally more than a third. And most people are behind. So I really recommend that bone broth, because that's how we get all of what we get, and you're going to get that as I go through the process. We need to catch up. Okay, we need to catch up on these things so we don't have problems with tendonitis and ripping ligaments and all that kind of stuff. So, and then another good third is your organs. Mix up, all of your organs internally, your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your pancreas, blah, 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 on and on and on. That's another third. So a third of the protein that we consume should come from organs, or at least what I recommend is like a pound and a half per week, somewhere in that ballpark. And then the rest can be muscle meats, okay? So that we have muscles in our arms and our chests and our legs and our hips and everything else. But like I said, most people eat a lot of muscle meat and not anything else. So that's the part that you shouldn't really have to worry about. And to heal my own body, I have found that bone broth is a big healer in my own body. I was diagnosed with arthritis in my 20s, and they really said I wasn't going to be walking much past the age of 35 to 40. Well, here I am, over 50. I was sprinting yesterday and everything else, and I owe a lot to it, to making bone broth and consuming bone broth. Now, I will put links to where you can buy some of this stuff from other people that make their own, but I highly recommend that you make your own once in a while too, okay? So this is how we're gonna go through this, now that we've gone through the whys. So, we have bones, and typically what I will do is when we eat our other muscle meats, I will save the bones and I'll stick them in a freezer, and kind of like a container like this, and I just stick them in the freezer and let them sit. And once they got a good 2 to 3 pounds worth of bones, and or I'm ready to make some bone broth, then it's like, okay, I pull it out of the freezer so that I get ready to go with it. Same kind of thing with like some vegetables, like the ends of vegetables or things like that. I will kind of throw that in there too sometimes as well. So that I have that all ready to go. Okay, so for bone broth, big pot of water. Okay, I got lots of water in here. The key is how much water. You want everything that you put in your bone broth to be covered up with the water. So you might have to add it, because when we cook our bone broth, we want to cook it for at least 24 hours. I will cook mine typically at least 36, if not even like 72. So if you go to places like Europe and to a lot of our other places where people are living like we used to live 100 or 200 years ago, there's a pot on their stove all the time. And they just are constantly dumping stuff into it and dumping water into it. It just never leaves the stove. And they go in there every day and they take a big scoop of that and they put it in a cup and they drink it. Or add it to soup or whatever else. So really important, and this is what I recommend you do with it, is I recommend everybody has a cup of this every single day. It's really great in the morning because it's quick and easy. You warm it up, you know, especially in the winter time like now, it, you know, warms up the body. It's where I'm wearing all sweats. Also, I like to just cook in sweats because I don't care if they get all dirty. So, and it really doesn't take very long, okay? It took me I timed it. It took me about 15 minutes to prep all this stuff. So, first I got my bones. So, if you don't have any particular on hand, you can get some chicken backs at your butcher. Make sure everything's organic, of course, and fed really well. You're going to be building stuff with whatever you eat, so you need to make sure that what you're putting into your body is the best you possibly can afford. Okay, the most important thing. Your body's the one thing you're going to have your whole life, so you want to make sure it's the best it can be. So chicken backs, I kind of cut them up and chopped them up a little bit, and then other bones. Most people tend to go towards the chicken. The beef stuff tends to be a little more strong tasting, and people typically don't like it because they're not used to that strong of a taste. What I typically do is whenever we make like beef ribs or short ribs or something, I will keep the bones or bone-in ribeye steaks or things like that. I will keep the bones. And I'll throw a couple of those in here too. I don't happen to have any of those this time around. But I will throw those in here too, and that way I get a little bit of the beef bones mixed in, okay? Alright, so I'm going to put in all the bones without splashing too much water. Going in here, like so. So that all my bones are all in there and submerged. And then throw that over in the sink. Okay, simple enough. So, next important ingredient, I already pre-measured this out, but you want some apple cider vinegar so that you create some acidity, because that's going to pull all of the nutrients out of the bones that you really want. The bone marrow, the minerals, the calciums, the magnesiums, all that kind of stuff that's in there. So we put that in there, okay? That's going to help pull all that sort of stuff out. Then I have all of my spice kind of stuff. So I've got chopped up onion in here, about 3 to 7 cloves of garlic, just kind of easily chopped up. It's all going to break down. Remember, it's going to cook for at least 24 hours. So I don't really cut this up a whole lot. I just pretty much just peel it and maybe cut it in half or quarters. All right, a bay leaf, about 6 peppercorns, and whatever kind of other spices you might want to add. I play around with it. This is the fun part about making your own. I've even put a bunch of cayenne pepper in there. One time I put too much, and it was like, oh, I got some seriously spicy bone broth. So, so we're going to add that, just like so. Nice and simple. Put all that in there. Get that going. Throw that over in the sink. And then some other good vegetables. I like celery, so I just kind of break those up. I just found some celery that was getting somewhat old in the fridge. That's kind of the thing. You can take all your vegetables that are maybe getting a little bit old on the old side, and then break those, throw all that in there, break that, throw all that in there too. And then I got some carrots, because I like carrots, and I'll add a little bit of a sweetness to it. You don't even have to break them. Some of it for me is just having fun with breaking everything down. Throw all that in there, kind of push that all down. I haven't turned the heat on, that's why I'm putting my hand in there, and my hands were clean. I washed before I started. Alright, so we got that. And then for extra added, so because I want my skin and my connective tissue and my ligaments and my tendons and everything else to be really strong, so I get some powdered collagen. You can get, just make sure it's a really good quality source from grass-fed, grass-finished animals. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of it in this bowl. And so I'm going to add that in on top of everything else. Okay, so that that's in there. All right, so now that I added that, I'm not using my hand anymore. So I will come in here and I will grab, not a spatula, but I will grab some kind of spoon so that I can kind of stir that around, but it doesn't really need stirring. Pick up little onion pieces that fell there, and I kind of stir that all around like so. And I turn it on high, and I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then once it boils, I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. Okay, so do all this. Get everything off the spoon. I don't want anything sticking to the spoon. We stir all this in just a little bit. So you can add whatever kind of spices you want, flavor it up any way you want to. You know, I've put red pepper flakes in here. Sometimes I've made it kind of like tomatoey. It's just like making chicken soup. It's really no different. The key is you want to cook it for, you know, a nice long time. All right, and we'll put the lid on. So this lid on this pot never quite fit exactly right, but there it is. Cool, dry off the hand. So, boom, done. Okay, it doesn't take a lot. Gonna cook it when it's all done cooking. Typically at nighttime, I just turn the burner off and it stays hot all night because it's a big mass. I check it every now and then, making sure that everything's still submerged under the water so that it can absorb everything out. And there it goes, it's cooking away. And then I turn it back on the next morning and I get it going again the next morning. When it's all done, then you are going to turn it off, let it cool down to closer to like body temperature so it's not super hot. And then you can strain off everything and discard all of the bones and the vegetable pieces and everything else. Keep all the liquid. You can freeze it. It freezes just fine, either in like, you know, jars or in good freezer bags if you want to do that. It lasts in the fridge for about 7 days. It does just fine. And then that way you can drink a nice big cup of that, loaded with protein, and like I said, loaded with all of the nutrients that our body needs. You hardly ever hear people complain about muscle problems, but you hear people complaining about joint problems, bone problems, osteoporosis, tendonitis, ligament problems. You hear people complaining about that stuff all the time. So replenish that by putting lots of good healthy bone broth into your body and replenishing with all that great nutrition. It's really easy to absorb. It goes through the system pretty fast, and I love it. It's even great to even do like a little bit of fast if you want. You could do like a bone broth 1 or 2 day fast where all you do is just drink bone broth for a day or two. Okay? So I will put some links in the comments down below. Please subscribe to the channel if you like this. Look for some of my other fun cooking videos, especially ones where I like, you know, make yummy treats. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. So build your body nice and strong. Have a happy and lovely day. See you next time.